Good morning, namaskar and namaste, my dear beloved friends. It gives me a great pleasure to meet with you again, and yet another beautiful day. It's neither sunny nor too gloomy. It's mix of both. So I'm enjoying the weather as such. All right. So how are you doing, by the way? Right? We had been uploading many sessions, many videos. There are a lot of testimonies. People really come forward and they confess it is very helpful and all that. But is your life changing? Is your life the same or is your life changing? That's the whole point. And you need to discover the answer. You need to find out. Why? Because your life doesn't change, which means you're stagnant. You're stuck in a certain situation. You're stuck in a certain problem. You're stuck in a certain depression or whatever it can be. You can give many titles to any problem that you're facing, but all of these constitutes, all of this take leads us towards one thing, that you are stuck somewhere. And you need to come out of that. You need to come out of that stronghold. And that's why these sessions are going to be very helpful. Why? Because we generally pick topics that really makes you to be stuck in a certain situation, to be stuck in a certain place, therefore you can overcome. Our ultimate intention is to build overcomers, and the rest all will fall in place. The moment you're able to overcome, it doesn't mean you will start hearing success stories. No, that's not the truth. But eventually, gradually, you will start seeing the success stories. All right. Once again, a warm welcome to this motivational series. Generally, or it's not about pep talks. It's actually a very practical teaching or very practical exposure of life. So I call it a motivational video, but you can give any title you want. Yet another day, yet another topic, yet another wonderful moment to discuss about a very important problem that the society is facing today. You know what is the title of the topic today? Loneliness. It's not even a title, it's a single word. What do you understand by loneliness? Let's spend a little time there. And I have got my Google Assistant here, and I'm not going to mug up everything and vomit over here, or am I going to read everything? But there are certain facts which we need to handpick, and it's very, very important that we understand the pros and cons, right? What is loneliness? What is the definition of loneliness? If you were to ask the same question to a 2-year-old kid or a 3-year-old toddler, the definition of loneliness is I have no toys to play, I have no one to play. Very valid definition, right? If you were to ask the same question to a teenager, he or she will say that my girlfriend ditched me, my boyfriend ditched me, he was very affectionate towards me. Nowadays, he doesn't even call me up, he doesn't even WhatsApp me up, he doesn't even FB me, Twitter me, whatever, right? So they will have their own bunch of problems. You ask the same question to an young professional, what is loneliness? He feels that there are there is no specific goal, there is no specific pathway, because the world demands so many things from me, and I don't know which profession to pick. Okay, fine, I picked a profession. In that profession, I do not know how to kind of make my skill set versatile. How to, I don't even have confidence that whether I will be sustaining in this field for the next 30 years, 35 years, will I retire? And that's what makes him depressed, and that's why he's feeling very lonely. Yeah. You ask the same question to a newly married couple, they will feel that we have been kind of isolated from our friends, and we were bachelors and spinsters respectively, and today we miss so many things, this and that. You ask the same question to your parents after they become grandmother and grandfather and all that, they will have the same problem, that we used to have so many people and all that, now we are feeling so isolated and all that. You ask the same question to a person in India versus a person in overseas, they will have two different versions. Yeah. People in overseas may think, oh, people in India are never lonely. People in India may think, people overseas settled in US, they are not at all lonely, they are enjoying the world and all that. They will have their own versions. All of these are leading towards one fact called as loneliness. Now, nobody can define this loneliness exactly by definition. You were to refer the Oxford Dictionary, the definition goes like this: a person who feel isolated, or a person who feel is being ignored, right? Isolated and ignorant, people being ignored are the ones who will feel that they are lonely. Correct? So this is exactly the definition. But not necessarily this definition is going to be the definition in every situation of your life. It changes, it varies. What is that? I'm trying to set a context. You might be going through, all of us would have gone through this loneliness at least once or twice or multiple times in my life. And man, I forgot another category, right? People think those that don't have siblings are the most lonely, isolated people. But I'm telling you the truth, that's definitely not true. That's the biggest lie. Because in my experience, I've seen people that have siblings are the ones who have isolated, in the sense the brother will settle in US, sister will settle in UK, all happening through WhatsApp. Once in 3 years, once in 5 years, they meet. And their parents are living in India. You know how many families I know? Then what does it mean? So people have their own way of description. I would say it's like a consolation. I look at someone, I assume something, and I console myself. Oh, I'm not like this. But actually, that's not the truth. So, what is the truth? We will discover. Welcome again. Okay, now there are three types of emotion. There are three types of loneliness that the researchers have found out. Researchers means the medical field. You go to a psychiatrist, I'm feeling very lonely. He will use this transcript, or he will use this kind of checklist to identify which category you belong. Very, very important. Top three categories of loneliness. First is emotional loneliness. The absence of meaningful relationships causes emotional loneliness. Meaningful relationships. What is it, meaningful relationship? You had a fight with your wife. Now both of you don't live in the same house. Now you have a fight with your child, a grown up boy or a grown up kid, an young professional. You always keep advising him, and you always want him to be controlled by your experience of the past. The guy did not like it, and he says, forget it, I'm getting out of this house. Emotionally you are challenged, emotionally you are hurt. I did so much to my children, I did so much to my child, and now the boy left me, he did not even look back, right? But you have not gone into the shoes of the boy, right? Or your own son, I mean to say, or your own daughter, and you have not understood the difficulties that he faces, because there is a generational change, decade over decade, year over year. There are a lot of generational changes. Have you ever imagined that you will have a phone, a mobile phone and all that, when you know 4 or 5 decades ago, or 3 or 4 decades ago? No, I had not even visualized anything like that. Having a telephone, that old telephone, like kurr, kurr, we will be kind of doing that dialing, right? That telephone will be there in only one house, the entire street. There will be 1,000 families living there, or 500 families living there, big street. In that street, only one uncle used to have the phone, very rich uncle. And my goodness, that number, no, people will give it to anyone. Each time it rings, you'll be cursing the people. They'll be running to that house. Emergency situations, death news, happy news, birthday, and newborn babies, every news will travel through that home to the entire street. So it was like a transformer, transmitting the message, and kind of whatever, right? Those were the days. But now the generation have changed, the generation have really moved forward. Therefore you also need to adjust. You cannot be the same old ambassador car is still great, I love that car. But then if you drive the ambassador car, nobody will talk about the greatness. One old uncle is coming in one old car. This is how you will be looked upon. So as the generation changes with, or moves ahead with kind of technologies and all sorts of upgrades and trend movement, trendy, you really need to adjust yourself. Else, I told you in the initial stages, right, in the beginning of the message, you'll be stuck. Now who is stuck? Your boy is not stuck, your girl is not stuck, I mean to say your son and daughter. You are the one who is stuck. That's why you are emotionally feeling that loneliness. My son doesn't come to me, he doesn't talk to me. Each time he talks to you, you're talking about the ambassador car. Whereas the fellow wants to drive a Benz car or a new Audi car, new technology and all that. You always say that this is not right. During our days, what happens? He mixes the instant coffee and he says, no, 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 this is not good for health. You know what all they make, the chicory or whatever, right? They mix it and it's not good for your brain and all that. Forget it. He let him discriminate. I'm telling you, wherever you have to stop him. For example, he is injecting a drug, he's into drug addiction. Yes, you have to fight to any extent to drag him out of that. But there are certain things where you really cannot get into. You have your boundaries, you have your limits. The parental care is important, parental care is necessary. Yeah, age, there is no age bar for parental care. Even if your child is going to be 40 years, 50 years old, and you're still alive, you still have a responsibility as a parent. But then that is different, and this is different. And what drags you into that emotional barrier, what drags you into that emotional loneliness, is when you don't get into certain, there is no alignment in certain things. Therefore, the meaningful relationship, parent child, is the most meaningful, the most valued relationship, the most appreciated and most honored relationship in any part of the world. you know that's why I picked that as an example. Husband wife, yes, definitely the next important relationship is couple, as husbands and wives. How are you maintaining that, that relationship? When something bad happens, immediately, I will leave my house, I'll go to my mother's house. That's quite popular in India. Mothers listening to me, you should send back your daughters. That is your place, he's your husband, go sort it out. Or you drag her immediately, take a auto rickshaw or a taxi, and then go in the same speed and ensure that you sort out the problem. These days problem is with the parents. That's why I'm not attacking parents, but there is a lot of maturity needed in parents. Or they will add more fuel to the burning fire. Is this how you spoke? This is why I have begotten my child and all that. I'm enacting a little drama, but this is the truth. And what happens after a period of time? you know the relationship gap widens, and he will find a different partner, you will find a different partner. One will not give divorce, another will want to give divorce. All these complications will lead you to emotional loneliness. People will be visiting your house. Yeah, you're still here, huh? You've not yet gone to your husband's place. You will feel the emotional loneliness. It will be triggered. And it's quite popular, right? People are really really interested to talk about some of the shortcomings, some of the problems you have, and all that. Emotional loneliness. You will feel emotionally lonely. Why? Because the meaningful relationships are no more existing. Friends fighting with one another, long childhood friends, they end up in some silly fights. And I've known people, silly fights, 30 years of relationship broken, gone. And that will really impact them. One person has an ego, and definitely he was the one who started all this fight. The other person wants to patch up, but the person will never allow. The most impacted person is the one who wants to patch up. Now, how do I overcome meaningful relationships? We will talk about that a little later, but my time is running like a jet. So let me get into the next one. The next one is social loneliness, the second type. This is how a psychiatrist will work with you. You don't need psychiatrist. You are a psychiatrist to yourself. Why do you run to doctors for everything? You are the best doctor to handle your own life, right? Yes, there are sicknesses, infection and stuff like that. You need to go and get inspected, and then they will be giving you the antibiotics. There are a lot of self prescriptions these days. Google doctor. Don't do that. Not always it works in all cases. Social loneliness, a perceived deficit in the quality of social connections. This is a common problem in a country like India, with full of diversity. We are divided by religion, language, not gender most of the times, but language and religion, it plays a key role. And caste, all these things are not still abolished. You can keep on talking about, oh, be it's a new digital India, it's a new India and all. Not only in India, you go to any country, right? For example, you are a foreigner in a different country, they don't get along with you so quickly. There will be definitely a kind of a racism tag in their heads. And due to which, what happens is, people, for example, a person who is an atheist, he doesn't belong to any religion. He doesn't uh, classify people by caste, gender, religion, language, color, skin color and all that, right? That person is the one who will be most impacted. Why? Because he will be the most ignored. The guy wants to get along with everyone. Everyone will say hello to him, but he will somehow feel that detachment. He will somehow feel that he is all alone in the world. He'll somehow feel that there is no one to him, right? And nowadays people are very smart. They have all this, that group going on in Facebooks and all that. They find, their partners. And nowadays life is very easy. I would say this is no more a problem, because there are a lot of media channels through which you could associate with a person of your likes and your character, your mindset and stuff like that. It's very easy to find. Okay, but this was never the case 2 3 decades ago, or at least 1 decade ago. So social loneliness is quite common, and it is also quite hurtful sometimes. People tell you that you are definitely not right. The religion you're now, nowadays people don't speak about religion and all that very vocal, but then you can definitely feel that, right? Whenever you feel that, you will feel that social loneliness. If you're a minority in certain country, you will feel that you are the most ignored. You're going through the most insecure phase of your life, don't you? So that's exactly the definition, and I will leave it there, because if I take one step further, it will become politics. So I will not get into that. I leave it there. You understand what I'm saying. Now, existential loneliness is the third category, a feeling of fundamental separateness from others and the wider world. Very, very complicated. Actually, for this third category, there is no reason. There is definitely no definite reason. And you know what is the worst part? People who belong to this third category, they know that what they are thinking, what they are going through is not valid. It's craziness. But still, I feel the loneliness. What is that? All of us go through this, right? Some or other point of our lives. And I'm not joking around. It's a very serious affair, right? And most of the people who belong to this category are the ones who will end up with that decision, that bad decision of ending their lives. Why? Because they have no reason to justify. They feel they have nowhere to go. They feel they have no one to meet. They feel, I'm the only one who is deprived. I'm the only one who is isolated. Now, nobody is there to, even if people are ready to help them, they will neglect the help. They will reject the help. Such people are the worst impacted. And if you are belonging in that category, the first advice is, do not stay alone, right? Find a partner. If you're greater than 25, 27 or something like that, get married. You need a life partner. You need to beget children, and then you have a family, and then things will change, mindset will change. Or don't find your relatives house or somewhere, and you go live with them. Or get along with some of your best friends. This is the worst category. Why? Because there is no reason to connect, and they will somehow feel they are left out in the world. My life is over. There is no way for me to go. There is no one to go. There is nowhere to go. No, that's not right. Okay. So some of the pros and cons about this loneliness I would like to quickly review. Now I think you understand, right? Whichever category you belong, you identify yourself. Now, what is the advantage of being lonely? Is there anything called as, advantage, merits of being lonely? Because the world has taught this, the fact of being lonely is definitely a vulnerable scenario. It's definitely not something positive. It's very negative. You cannot be lonely. It's a sickness, man. It's more than a disease. Not necessarily. I have a good news for you. It's during loneliness you will discover many things. You will give enough time for your mental system to go through that introspection. People who score through group studies versus people who study all alone in their house. There is a research conducted by Stanford University. There is a drastic variance. People who are able to concentrate and study all by themselves, I mean, they will have need some help. You can be part of group studies, but then always sitting in group studies, people will end up in gossiping and nagging each other and joking around and stuff like that, and they will also fail in their subjects. This is what the study says, not me. But a person, whereas a person sitting alone and focusing, you will get more focus, you will get more concentration. There will be very, very less chances for distraction. Yeah. You look at most of the scientists who invent many things and all that, they will set up a lab in an isolated area. Not even their family is allowed. They'll be completely into that. I'm not asking you to become a scientist. It's okay. Whoever wants to become a scientist, let them be. But then not all can be scientists. Not all need to be scientists. So forget that, right? But being alone really helps you to think. Sometimes, it also helps you to revive what is lost. It will help you to revive. You will rejuvenate. Your energy will rejuvenate. You'll once again get back that rhythm. You'll once again get back that focus. Why? Because you have discovered and understood what is wrong. You will never be able to discover if you're always talking to people. You know what is the biggest advantage of being lonely? This mouthpiece, the big hole on your face, right? It will be shut. When this hole is shut, many holes in the brains will open up. Therefore, you're able to think. You're able to think outside the box. You're able to think beyond the reach. And you're able to discover many things. In my personal life, I've gone through this many, many times. I'm not saying you shouldn't talk to people, don't get me wrong. But then, more than you talking to people, you need to talk to yourself. for which you need time, for which you need some sort of a quiet environment. Nowadays, it is really picking up. This culture is picking up. The best name they've given for this culture is yoga and meditation, right? A meditation are different methods. Meditation, is done by people of all religion, people of all caste and all gender and all that, because they have their own doctrine that leads them into meditation. That's fine. Quiet mind, spending time with yourself, for yourself, is the one which will definitely help you to march ahead. It will rejuvenate. My time is up, right? This is the biggest advantage of loneliness. If you discover the shortcomings, if you discover the solution for your problem, nothing like that, you're already out of it. The negative side of loneliness is you cannot always be alone. You cannot always be talking to yourself, looking at the wall and all that. You are mad. Something is wrong with you. So you really need people. This world is designed by God. If you are a believer in God, why did not God create all male? Why did not God create all as female? There needs to be a balance, correct? A male for a female and a female for a male. And nowadays things are different, but I'm not talking about that. uh, Sorry about that, I'm not talking about that. No, right? The general design of the world is a male to a female and female to a male. They are married and all that. Why? Because the nature itself is teaching us that no one can be alone. You really need people. Therefore, you need to have a very balanced life. Some people are always into this social way of doing things and this and that, and they are the ones who will be ending up in depression, and people will be shocked. Yesterday also I saw him in a party and all that. He will never be alone, and how is this possible with him and all that. Recently, one prominent South Indian actor's daughter, she was doing a 12th standard. She is witnessed by all her friends. A very true incident. I'll tell you this and I will close. Very social. She will be always in all events and this and that. She was fighting depression inside her. Now, what was the reason for the depression? They later found out that she did not spend time with her family for herself. But then she was having a problem. She was having a void. She failed to discover that void. So what happens? The void was 1 millimeter, then it became 10 millimeter, became so big. Then one fine day, she goes and locks her up, and then she finishes her life. Very, very sad. An 18-year-old kid, right? So you don't have to, but you look for a balanced life. There are times where you spend time for yourself alone and discover many things. And the solution is never going to be implemented all by yourself. You need people to support you. So take the solution and go reach out to the world and work with them and be part of that, right? Be part of the problem, be part of the solution. You need people. God bless you. Take care. I hope today's session was useful. Sorry if I had bored somebody, but then it's very short for a time, to talk everything about loneliness. So we did our best thing that possibly within this stipulated time. I hope it was useful. Please comment, share with your friends, and stay encouraged, stay motivated, and don't be alone. And need not be always, need not be always looking at loneliness as a vulnerable thing. Not necessarily, because sometimes loneliness really helps you. I hope you understood this. Take care. God bless you. Namaste.